remainder of this weekend, let's consider this room our temple. For we are investing it with a great deal of Shakti and love. When you come in here, come in quietly. Begin to honor the space. Tomorrow morning, the incredible Hanuman, which is already, Hanuman has already gone into, so it is quite living, will be hung on the wall over there, just at kissable height, so that you can all share in investing it with the proper amount of love. And then it will be hung on the wall of the little Hanuman temple we will have in New York, where it's really a thing of great beauty. There has been a very large amount of input today already. For some of you who already have a deep philosophical structure of what this is all about, it's all second nature to you. For others, you are totally confused. Happy, feeling a sense of well-being, perhaps, but confused. That's okay. For I've said before, and I'll say again, the forms are not what it's about. What you are receiving this weekend, and I think you're beginning to understand what I'm talking about, you are receiving a transmission of the living spirit through a lineage. And you don't have to know all the words to receive the transmission by any means. Often when you're in India, you can go to a wang, a Tibetan wang, where for 8 or 9 days there will be sutras recited. You will not understand a word of it, but you still receive the transmission. Or as I said earlier today, we are beginning now to acknowledge realities other than that which is comfortable to the rational mind. And Hanuman is certainly a beginning of that. This morning, when we were out on the lawn doing the breathing, we went up over our heads, came back down into our heart. Up over the head, back down to the heart. You wish we went close into the quiet, impersonal presence of God. We came back into our emotional involvement with humanity. Now that is a pattern of this lineage. And that's why Hanuman is characterized as kneeling and is represented as a servant of Ram, a servant of God. For once a being has worked out their individual karma, his or her individual karma, by surrendering into God, you come to a point where you, now I'm not talking about your body is merely your package, but you, the wires that attach you to this plane are so subtle that with one snip, you go into God. You merge back into that which is without form. You do. And what is left behind is the residue of the package. Your body's left behind, and your astral bodies all dissolve, and you are slowly, your physical body disintegrates, goes back into dust, into earth. You leave. Most beings, when they get to that point, recognize a choice. The choice is, at that point, of going into not the samadhis that you go into prior to that, where your breath stops, your body becomes stiff, and you go out of your body. Those are different levels of samadhi. There are even samadhis where your body doesn't stiffen. But there is a choice of going into what's called mahasamadhi, which is where you indeed leave your body behind and merge back into God. You understand, most people that die don't have this option because they still have a lot of personal karma. And that personal karma, it's like you are say this flower with a soul. It has connected with it a lot of what would be called, I don't know what you want to call them. There are names in Buddhism, Hinduism, everything for it. Sanskars, they're predisposing tendencies, you might call it. It's like a DNA code. It's clingy stuff, clingy stuff. It's a set of desires that are still lurking in you. And this soul demands a form again to keep working out these desires. The desires keep projecting out a form. They keep creating form. The form may not be on the physical plane like this. You may end up in heaven. But after so many 100 years or 1,000 years, because time is different on each of these planes. It's still time, but it's different units of time. You use up that karma, and you leave that plane. You may just discorporate. You may not die, because you don't die on those planes. And then you are still an entity with certain karma, and you might come back then and take another human birth. But at some point in your evolution, you come to the point where the veil is very thin because the desires, the personal desires, are pretty well gone. There's nothing much you want. You're not attached to being in any particular form in heaven or earth. Everything is what it is, and you can acknowledge it. So, yes, you're right here. The only pull that is there now is the pull to merge back into God, which is like the pull in sex after a long foreplay, the pull for the orgasm. And as you approach that moment, your third eye is wide open, your eye be single, your being be full of light, you see the entire scene. You understand karma. You understand the laws. You understand the divine law of the universe. You understand all the Buddha fields. You understand the whole way of sanskara. You are wisdom at that moment. You see that all form is suffering. You see that anything in time has suffering in it. You see just what Buddha saw before he enunciated the Four Noble Truths. That moment you have choice. Choice to give up the form, go into the formless, or choice to play in the formless but come back into the form. Why would you come back into the form? It's what in Tibetan Buddhism is called the Bodhisattva vow. Why would you come back into the form? Not because of your personal karma anymore. That's all over. There's nothing in you pulling. You don't want anything. You even see the perfection of the universe. You see the perfection of God's work. You even see that the suffering itself, because you began to see that the suffering was what awakened you, you begin to see that the suffering is grace, even though most people don't see it because they're too deep in the illusion. Were there no need for the suffering, there would be no need for this world, and none of us would be on this plane at all. Wouldn't exist. This exists because of the karmic needs of the people on it. What you experience is collective karma. You identify with the suffering of all sentient beings. And that identification can keep you in form. At that point, your form is no longer personal. You are, at that moment, an instrument of God. You are, at that moment, just as Buddha was when he returned from his enlightenment, you are an instrument of the Dharma. You are a statement which will enlighten those that are ready to be enlightened. That is your only function. It's the only reason you're on earth. Only reason you're here at all. For you're not going to get your rushes here, since your rushes come from orgasm with the infinite. And when you've had a lover like that, there's nothing in the world that has much pull. You can enjoy it all, but you have the choice to go into God. You have the choice to have it all. Why take little bits of it? See, at this point, you come here, the setting is beautiful, you will have some deep meditations, but then the pull of the world will be strong.
GoPro, stop
it'll
recording.
Pull you back, and you'll have to make an effort to meditate. When those feet shift, when the weight shifts, you just sit in meditation, and then you think, oh, now I have to leave this to go into form. And the weight has shifted. It's like getting up out of a bed where you're all cuddly on a cold morning to go and light the fire, or let the dog out, or the cat in, or change the baby, or go to work. When this balance of feet shifts, when you start to awaken, it dawns on you that the whole game is perfect. The whole game is perfect, including all the shit you've been through. It's all perfect. Even the way man's will screws it all up. It's still all, there's perfection in it. There is a tendency to get enamored of the impersonal, the cold impersonal, the beauty of it all, the beauty of the Leela. And you